Hello everyone, this is FIDE Master Gahan MG, and here I'm going to show you a few of my memorable games with this series called Saturdays with Gahan. Today I'm going to show you one of my games against India's 50th Grandmaster MS Thejkumar. So just to give a brief history about this match, this was played in 5th round in Akshayakalpa BNCF Grandprix Finals tournament in 2019, and this particular round helped me to get a sole lead and eventually win the tournament as well. So let's go ahead and start the game. So e4, c6. So this is a Karakan defense, which Tejkumar is quite famous for. And I went ahead with Panobatwanik. So this is also kind of my pet variation because I've been playing this for a lot of years. And it's quite solid for white. So if white is okay for draw or get a minimal advantage without any risk, then this is an opening that you can always go for. So c4, knight f6, knight c3, knight c6, knight f3. So this is all standard theory, and here black has two main options, bishop g4 and bishop e6. So bishop g4 used to be more popular previously, but after, in recent times, white gets a very comfortable equal position, and if at all black is trying to win, then bishop g4 is not the move that you would want to do. So just to show an sample variation, white can capture c into d5, knight into d5, queen b3. Knight is attacked, so bishop into knight, g into f3. Now the d4 pawn is hanging, but black cannot capture because the d5 knight is hanging. So black plays e6, I play queen into b7, knight into d4, bishop b5 check. So now knight into b5, white has an intermediate move, queen c6 check. Black cannot play queen d7 because the a8 rook is hanging. So he has to play king e7. Now I play queen into b5 and black plays queen d7. At first sight, it looks like black's king is weak, but actually even white's king is quite weak. And I think it's basically more or less forced for white to exchange queens. And once the queens are exchanged, this portion is, just equal. Black has an isolated pawn, but white has two double pawns. And 9 out of 10 games in this variation has ended in a draw. So for obvious reasons, Tej decided to play bishop e6 and play for win instead. So here, white has two options again, bishop g5 and c5. I went ahead with c5, g6, bishop b5. So just to give some idea about this variation, it's kind of a double-edged variation. I believe, Engine does not really like it, but practically I think white is doing quite good here. The black's main idea here is to get e5, and white's main idea here is to control the center and not allow e5 as much as he can. If at all black gets e5, then white has to make sure that he at least gets control over the d4 square once he takes d into e5. For example, knight e2 or knight e4. Okay, so bishop b5, bishop g7, castle, rook e1, bishop g4. So this is a standard idea. The black bishop will be exchanged for this knight so that the d4 pawn becomes weak, as well as the knight which controls the e5 square is gone. So here white is more or less forced to capture bishop into knight, pawn into, because if it does not capture, then the d4 pawn is quite weak. Black will just capture the knight, and if you capture the bishop back with the queen, then black can capture knight into pawn. So bishop into c6, b into c6, h3. Bishop into f3, queen into f3, knight d7. So as I told you, black will always try here for e5 pawn break, and white needs to make sure that he stops e5 for as much time as he can. So I decided to play bishop g5, and Tej played rook e8 here. There's also a very interesting variation where he has f6. So this was an interesting variation which didn't happen in the board, but I think it's worth to mention here. So I can play bishop h4, e5. Now it looks like black has achieved e5 because if I capture d into e5, black has this good move, knight into e5. So although this knight is pinned, my queen also will be hanging. So for example, if I capture rook into e5, f into e5, bishop into d8, rook into f3. So I need to capture the rook, and now black captures the bishop. So now it looks like black is clearly better. However, after e5, I have a good move here, knight into d5. So the idea behind this move is if black captures the knight, white captures queen into d5, king h8, and now white has d into e5. If you see, white has already got 3 pawns, and now e6, c6, these 2 pawns are very dangerous. Of course, black has knight into e5, but unfortunately, it does not work for black because white has rook into e5. And after this move, white has recaptured the piece, and he's just 2 pawns up. As you can see, f into e5 is not possible because it is pinned, and if queen into queen, I have rook into. So this probably even Thejkumar saw it, so he did not go for f6, and instead he went ahead with rook e8. So I played rook d1, just developing the rook as well as defending the d4 pawn. Now black plays rook b8, all natural moves, attacking the b2 pawn and also capturing the open file. So queen e2, I decided to support. Queen c8. So this was a very interesting and nice move because now e5 is coming, and in some variations, once e5 comes, black queen also can come to f5. So here, as you can see, I don't think there is any good way for white to stop e5. So I need to make sure that at least I get control over the d2 square or d4 square. So I decided to play queen d2, coming out of this indirect pin of the rook on e8. So queen d2, e5, b captures e5, knight captures e5, b3, because knight c4 is coming and b2 pawn is falling. So I need to make sure that I don't allow knight c4. So queen f5. At first sight, now this position looks like black is clearly better because his pieces are better. And as I told you, black main aim here is to get e5, which black has already achieved. But as I told you previously, if white can get control over the d4 square, especially if the knight can come and sit on d4, then white is probably better. Because in the long run, the c6 pawn is weak, and white pieces will eventually get reclaim all the space that he has lost. So here I played knight e2, and this is a critical position here for black. If at all black manages to stop knight d4 or get some sort of tactics here, then black is better. If not, I think if once white gets knight d4, white should be better here. So I think, surprisingly, there's no tactics as such. F3, h3, there's no such tactics. So black decides to play f6, bishop e3, and now there is no forcing move which can stop white for playing knight d4. So he plays rook b7, idea rook e7, and I get knight d4. So knight d4, queen c8, not queen d7 because it stops the rook from going to e7. So now I played bishop h6. So here, both the knight looks very strong, but if you actually look closely, this knight on d4 is much stronger because it attacks the c6 pawn, which is a weakness, whereas black knight on e5 is not attacking anything. And moreover, white has f4, which can chase away the knight on e5, but there is no pawn or piece which can chase away the white's knight on d4. So basically, although both knight looks good, but the white knight on d4 is much, much stronger. So exchanging this bishop is good for me. But black decides to not exchange and play bishop h8, rook e2. Now you see white is actually getting more and more space, and white is already clearly better in this position. Rook e7, rook d1, queen d7. So here, now black is kind of tied up here. He cannot really move any of his pieces because this knight is trapped. He can play knight f7, but I played bishop f4 first. If he plays knight f7 now, I can just capture, and capture the c6 pawn. Here there's a very nice tactics. If queen d7, white also has queen into d5. A very standard forking idea, queen into d5, knight e7 check, and knight into d5. So going back, so I played bishop f4 and black plays bishop g7. So I played bishop g3 and now I want to play f4. So h5, I wouldn't want to play f4 directly, but f4 is always an idea, especially if the queen moves away from d7. So in this version, I think I played a very nice move here because if you can think in this position, white's almost all the pieces are doing good job. The knight on d4 is perfect. The two rooks are doubling and attacking. This bishop on g3 also is doing quite a decent job. But there is one piece, that is the queen on d2, which can be further improved. So here I decided to relocate my queen to a5, a6, and attack the c6 pawn, which is another weakness in black's position. And this proved to be deadly as there is no good defense here for black. Black plays bishop f8 to protect the rook, but after queen a6, now the c6 pawn is very tough to defend. I have bishop into e5 and capturing the c6 pawn, or even better, probably just f4 and then capture the c6 pawn. Here already black is under severe pressure in the position, but black played a bad move here, queen c8. After queen c8, queen into c8, rook into c8. Now the rook on e7 is not protected enough because I have two rooks attacking and there's only one bishop that is protecting. So yes, after f4, black is losing a piece here. Rook f7, f into e5, bishop into c5. So here, when black decides to see some tricks, if at all there is possibility. And in fact, I made a small mistake here with rook d2. I think rook d1 was just clearly winning here, and piece up for nothing. But because both of us were in time pressure, I missed this bishop b4 idea and I played rook d2. But fortunately for me, even my opponent Tejkumar missed bishop b4 and he played f into e5. Although, to be honest, even after bishop b5, white is clearly better because I play rook d1, bishop into rook into bishop, f into e5, bishop into e5, and these two pieces are much stronger than one rook. But instead, Tejkumar went for f into e5 in this position, and after rook into e5, now black no longer has this double attack. So he played h4. Probably I could have still taken bishop into h4 because after rook f4, I have bishop f2. However, I did not want to give any counterplay, so I just played bishop f2. Bishop f2, bishop b4, rook c2. Now c6 is attacked, so he played c5, which is again kind of a blunder because this pawn is pinned. I can just take rook into d5, and now black cannot take the knight because the rook on c8 is hanging. So after rook into d5, rook e8, knight f3, and now here Tejkumar resigned because white is a piece up and black does not even have a single pawn for the piece. I hope you really like this video and you learned something about Panobatwinik. Kindly like this video and please subscribe and stay tuned for more such videos in Saturdays with Kahan. Thank you.